Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.
Oh, have I got your attention now?
We live.
Hey, we're live. Good morning, guys. How we doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Doing
He's
great,
back.
brother. Thank you for having me here again, guys. I love your show. I'm always watching it. I'm always giving you a hard time, or I try.
Hey, it's a pleasure. I did a post yesterday saying he's back. You're the first ever guest to show twice, so that must be something. The first ever. Look at that.
What an honor, dude.
That is an honor. It's always good to be our first, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. I'm gonna save this show. If you guys don't mind, if you can send me the recording so I can post it on my YouTube channel. How about that?
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely, 100%. Well, look, good morning, everybody. This is Coffee with Closers Live. We are live every single Wednesday. We are missing one person. I do have mine. I know Don's probably not got his. It's actually my Michigan Cup. How about that? Yeah, so we are live every single Wednesday, 12 Eastern, 11 Central, 9 Pacific. David Dodge is not with us today. He is running an event. He might pop in. He said he's going to be doing an event right now on the Burr method. So if you're interested in that, you need to make sure you're following Dave and you're reaching out to him. But in the meantime, we have Ricardo with us. He had, he brought good energy. He is a beast in our space of real estate. He's doing a lot of deals. So we're going to be tapping into exactly what he's doing, how he's doing it today. And he's got an event coming up actually here next week. So if you're in that area, and we're going to talk about that today, you need to grab a ticket. There's some heavy hitters there, and we're going to talk about that as well. So guys, how are we doing? Good morning. How's the week?
Awesome, man. We're doing great. I'm getting ready for to receive my friend Don Costa next week in Florida. He's going to be speaking from stage. This is the second time he joins me on an event, so I'm honored to have you, Don. I appreciate you, brother. Don and I always have a great time, and hopefully soon we'll have you there, Gavin.
Hey, man, I'm sorry I couldn't make this one. I apologize. I've been traveling. I'm back home right now. I just arrived back home after 2.5 months. So it's just been hectic. But yeah, I'm definitely, want to be on the next one. And it's always a good time with Don Costa.
Oh, come on.
That.
Can't go wrong with Don, man.
That's true. I'll accept it. I'm fun to be with.
Well, good. So, Don, how's your week? What have you been doing?
It's been good. I've been working on a lot of back end stuff, training new VAs. I think I shared a few weeks ago. I cleared basically the sales team out and started new. Just kind of new culture reboot. And so we're just revamping systems and processes, kind of rebuilding some of our playlists, so to speak. And spent some time with some new VAs yesterday, which is I'm not usually in the weeds, but one of the things that happens when you have an organization through the years and you have people come and go is, some of the things that you put in place early on have grown, morphed, transformed into something else. And some of those something else's are great. And some of those something else's I would call broken. Right. And I'm going through and I'm just identifying like what is broken, what is running in a way that I feel is less than profitable for my business long-term, less than efficient for my business long-term. And what do I just not like? And so I'm kind of in the weeds a little bit the last few weeks with some of the new people and just kind of revamping a few things and getting things back on track to where I want them to be so I can continue to stay out of my business, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Don, let me ask you a question, man. And I'm sorry to interrupt you there, Gavin, but are you using the EOS system, the Vision Traction Organizer?
We do, and we don't. So we do I have a couple businesses and several of the businesses we do very much operate off of EOS. In the real estate side, we don't primarily, and I should say I don't, because I really try to stay out of the day-to-day operations. Right now we're in kind of like rebuild mode. So it's a little bit more of, we're very hands-on and meeting multiple times a day to get things to where I want them to be. And then the team will probably take back on the EOS type of stuff, down the road. But I'm not built. I hate to say it. Some people are really built for EOS, and EOS meaning to me, it's not. it's not the best way for me to operate. I'm very much like, let's have loose conversations and see what come of them. Hold ourselves accountable, kind of EOS in the beginning, hold ourselves accountable. Okay, what'd you get done? What were you supposed to get done? What'd you fail at? How are we looking for the week? And let's go into some organic conversations. And I know EOS is supposed to keep us away from some of those organic conversations, but some of the stuff for me that grows and resonates and the aha moments come out of those organic conversations, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and the reason I ask is because I do run my businesses of the EOS, right?
Right.
But I am very much like you. I like to have those loose conversations. I like to modify things on the go. Let's figure it out as we go. What the EOS has done for me is that when I'm failing at something, let's say my texting campaigns are not working, it's exposing that failure a lot sooner than if I just didn't have that meeting. You follow what I'm saying? So
for sure. Yeah.
It makes me aware. I was like, oh man, we're messing up on dude, we had a rough month in October. We only had like a couple of closings. That's abnormal for us. And I went back with my COO, Shane. And Shane, this guy is a numbers guy. Like, he's got all his shit together. And we sat down and we're like, okay, where is our gap? And we found out that we had a gap in the acquisitions process because we have some new acquisitions guys. Mm-hmm. So we had a ton of leads. Leads were sitting on the CRM, not being really worked on like they were supposed to. But I don't think that if I would have that EOS meeting, that I would have realized, because we get a lot of contracts from JVs as well, and they keep the pipeline flowing.
Right.
But our own contracts, which is the ones that we make the most of the money out of, we were like, hey man, what's going on here? Why did we have such a bad month right now? Which is October for me is supposed to be a great month. For the first time, is not a great month, and is the EOS meeting that we had is we have a gap here. Luckily, now that we have these two guys trained up and all that, we know we're going to have a better December and January, because everything we do today is going to be 90 days out anyways. Sometimes it's quicker, but that's how it's helped me big time, is to identify a lot of the challenges that we run into every now and then sooner, and it's not as painful as if I just find out 6 months later,
Yeah, no, for sure. And we have tracking. I have daily reports, weekly reports, monthly reports that are sent to me. We have regular manager meetings. We call them basically, they're essentially manager meetings, and they're very structured. Like EOS, we go through. We don't call them rocks. I guess the point I want to say is we're EOS formatted to a certain degree, but we're a looser version of EOS.
Yeah, so you have a different agenda. Basically.
We have a different agenda. So we're very much we meet on a regular basis. We make sure that we go through our meetings. We go through all the certain things we have to hit. We're watching our numbers, all of that. I mean, you can't run a good business without doing that. If you're looking up 6 months later and going, what the hell went wrong? Then you're not running a business. You're throwing things against the wall and hoping that something good happens out of it.
Hey, I did that for a long time, brother.
Yeah. So
let's see if it sticks.
Yeah.
Ricardo, give us then EOS, right? That method. Give us a high level, like for people listening, they're going to be probably going, well, so what are you on about? What are you talking about here? So give us like a high level of like a structure of what you're talking about.
Very, very good suggestion. So number one, core values. Don and I were talking about this last week in the family reunion, right? Core values are very important. It's something I emphasize big time nowadays when I'm bringing somebody on the team for many different reasons. At the beginning, everybody kind of looks very good to be a fit because they're hungry, they're eager, they want to learn, they want to make some money or whatnot. But now we make sure that we put them through a series of questions to identify core values. So the first thing we have in our EOS systems is our core values. What do they look like? We build it as a team. That way, everybody on the team kind of has an input in our EOS system. It's not just Ricardo's EOS, it's the culture, the team EOS. And then from there, we go to what is the purpose of the company? Is it to do buying properties at a discount for investors? Is it to do innovations? Because from business to business or fix and flips is going to change big time, right? So we go for what is our niche and our purpose. We define that as a team. Then we put the 10-year goal. Where do I see my business in 10 years from now? which, believe it or not, for a lot of people, is a tough challenge.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, man, how can I think so far ahead? In 10 years, I probably don't want to be working anymore, or I want to be retired on the beach, or I want to be playing golf full time, right?
Yeah.
Let's make sure that as a team, we know where we're headed in the next 10 years. And I've had a few coaching students that are actually pros in the business. I do coaching when it comes to like EOS and stuff like that, because that's where I find most of them are failing. It's not a lead generation or converting contracts, is that having a solid foundation on their business. So, we go and define that vision. Where do we need to be in 10 years? And they struggle with it. And these guys are guys that are legitimate. They're rock solid rock stars in our space, but they're like, man, I don't see myself in 10 years. So we start learning how to do that. Then we go from 10 years to 3 years. So it's all about reverse engineering. Now, for me, that's simple. I was in the military. And in the military, you reverse engineer everything. But for somebody that doesn't have the background that I do, it could be a little bit harder to put on paper. So we go from 10 years to 3 years, and then from 3 years to a year. What do those businesses need to look like? Are you going to have another office? Are you going to have a call center? Are you going to have maybe more VAs or less acquisitions guys? How do you really want to operate your business? Do you want to transition from fix and flip to wholesaling, or vice versa, right? There's all these things going around that it could be, shiny objects, but as long as you identify, where you want your business to be at, you're somehow going to follow that path. And like Don says, you have to be flexible about it, because sometimes you try to go in the fix and flips and maybe that doesn't work because the market changed. Okay, guess what? You have to change your EOS now. Right? Don't do the fix and flips. Go wholesaling or switch over to wholesaling. I was a heavy rehabber. So if you looked at my EOS 4 years ago, it was about how many houses we were flipping, how many contractors we had, how many crews. It was completely rehab, oriented. Today is wholesaling oriented. And the more I work on my EOS on in my roadmap, which is what I call it, it's I decentralize things now. I have 2 offices, but it all came from that vision that I at some point I put in paper, right? Then we go from a year to a quarter. Like, how are we gonna do this quarter? And this is how we found out. Hey man, we sucked this quarter, man. Like, what the hell is going on? October is supposed to be a good month to get us started, and we're not gonna crush our numbers if we don't fix all these things. And then from the quarter, we go to the rocks. Now I go to rocks. I call them challenges, because I can't remember. The EOS has a different word for it, but I didn't like the word, so I took the word out and I put mine in. But it's basically the same thing, It's a challenge, right? Challenges are to be conquered. So, So we go from core values. What is the purpose of the business? 10-year vision. What is the marketing channels? I missed that part. Like, what is the marketing channels that we're going to use in, like in our case is number 1 is texting. Number 2 is PPC. And then number 3 is literally networking. Like, we get a lot of contracts to networking. And then, we go to the 3-year version of it. From the 3-year version of it, of where we want to be, we go down to the 1 year, from the 1 year to the quarter. And then we go to all the rocks and the challenges that we have to solve to make that happen. So that's kind of like the basic structure of the EOS and how we run it.
No, I love that. And I think that the key thing is as well, I think the core values and the vision, right? Making sure that, because sometimes you have good people that, in terms of, when I say good people, that are producing in your company, but they don't have the right values. So it derails everybody else. And they're the hard decisions, like Don was saying, resetting, where, you may have been working with these people for 5, 6, 7 years, but they're not fitting in the way that you want to do. They want to do it their way. It's not your way or your culture way. And you have to make them hard decisions. So I love that. And also, the vision. It's funny. I have this here. This is the first, I came across this about a month ago. This book here with a light bulb on. This was a book. Okay. It's just a notebook, right? That my wife got me when I got into real estate.
Wow.
And I look on the first thing that I ever writ down. I have my marketing plan. I have my short-term, long-term, medium-term goals, right? And that's exactly what you're talking about. And for me, my long-term goals is when I found this, it was kind of crazy to look back over that. Literally, my goal was to work from anywhere, okay, in the world, to run this business from anywhere, which is what I do, to be working on the business and not in it, which is what I do. Okay. And these things that you created. But when I started in the business, I was doing 10, 12 hours a day. Right. But you have to have that vision to where you're heading, to be putting these systems in place to be able to get there. And mine's not to, there's nothing in there that was build an empire. There was nothing in there to be doing an office in on a sky rise with 40 people in it. None of that was in there. That's not what I was about, and not what I wanted. My values I'm from England. I need to be able to get home if I need to, right? I want to be able to travel and move around, and that's what I built. And the beautiful thing is that we all have the different visions and goals, but it starts there because you need to know where you're heading. And that's what I like about that 10-year plan. And of course, as you just said, the market changes, so you have to change, but you have to have a vision before anything else can go in place. So really, really good.
That's absolutely right, man. I like my office. I have two offices, one in Houston, one in Miami. And even though I could very well work from anywhere, from a Starbucks or whatever, I need the office environment. Yeah. It's crazy. I was in corporate for many years, so I am more productive when I'm in the office than when I'm on the street somewhere or I'm in my house. So I have to create that environment for myself. That environment might not be the right environment for you, Gavin, right? For you, it's like, man, I just want to be on flip-flops, wear my Bermudas.
100%.
Have a call with my VAs whenever I feel like, and I need more structure, right? And I guess that comes from being in the military in the past as well. Like, I need that structure because I was a complete mess before I was in the military. Military kind of like got me halfway fixed up, because I'm not fixed up all the way, so but I need that structure. So I created something that gives me, now don't get me wrong, I don't work the same 14 hours a day like I used to, but when I do, it's because I like to do it. I like to be I enjoy being in my office.
Absolutely.
Looking at deals or working with my acquisitions or dispositions guys. But I have built a business that has allowed me to step away for long periods of times, and it continuously runs because it's based on those core values and that EOS system that everybody's on board. Yeah. So I made a mistake a few months ago, and we all made mistakes, and we will continue to make mistakes. But a few months ago, I led somebody on board that I picked up a red flag right away, but I needed to fill that spot, right?
Yeah.
And I thought about it, and this was a lady. She begged me for the job. She's like, Ricardo, please give me the opportunity. I'm here to learn. I'm here to, serve the team, this and that. And because she did it that way, I was like, you know what? She's got something good on her, like I'm going to bring her in. That was a big mistake, man. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. And she poisoned at least 3 or 4 other guys that we had in the office and that are no longer with us because she became like the bad apple that spread around. And I caught on to it too late. It was too late for me to save some of these other guys. Eventually, I had to let everybody go. But that was me not following my own plan.
And I appreciate you. I think this is what I like about you is that you're honest, right? I mean, you do good numbers, but you're telling us, we closed 2, right? We got rid of people. The same with Don, the same with me. We just lost our acquisition, right? And it's probably the most turnover position anyway. But that's what I like, when we have our guests on and they're sharing these stories because we're all in the same thing, right? It doesn't matter if you're trying to do your first deal or your 100th. There's always things in real estate coming up that we can't prepare for. And, I appreciate that, you share that because you could come on here and just give it all the smoke, right? And just be like, oh yeah, life's great and we're killing it and we're doing this and that. And then no one learns because they're like, I want to be like that.
The only people always winning are the people that are full of shit or they haven't been in the game long enough to have tripped and stumbled. I mean, that's just a fact of it. We're running real businesses here. And whether you're Macy's, Coca-Cola, or you are, Joe Schmo real estate flipper,
that
you're
was
going
the
to run into
best
issues.
analogy, Don. Like you just mentioned Macy's. I mean, you could have. They were in the top of the world like years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And look at where they are today.
Complacency. It's a disease that affects all of us from time to time.
Yep. When, and that's the entrepreneur thing, right? When you're winning, how do you just not relax? So sometimes it's easy. Everything's good. You take your eye off the ball, and Ricardo point, you don't catch it fast enough. So the damage is done, and then you go, oh no, and then you're down the line, but you have to rebuild and go again, and you get through it. And that's just about, that's just business.
And honestly, in that particular case, the lady was actually a very nice lady. She was not a bad person. She, it's just that her subconscious mind, she has a lot of work to do in order to fix that. And, she just became a problem in our culture. And eventually I had to have a conversation, right? So, but by that time it was too late. My biggest rock star on the acquisition side, he had been poisoned by her, and then he ended up leaving as well. And so, that was me not paying attention to my core values, paying attention to the red flag when I saw it. Didn't follow my gut feeling, because I needed to fill in a spot, and that ended up causing more problems than what it was. And it happens all the time, man. Like, people don't talk about this enough. Like you're right, Gavin. Like
100%.
All you see is rock stars. There's a bunch of rock stars,
social media rock stars.
Operations. They make 9 figures a year, and multiple 7 figures a month. But they never have a bad month. I was like, shit, man. I want to drink that Kool-Aid. Like where do they buy that? So we just got to make sure that we make people aware of, hey guys, this is a real business, like Don says. Real businesses are going to be changing, constantly changing. And, you have to be prepared for that. If Don would have quit doing what he's doing years ago when he had his setbacks or whatnot, he wouldn't be prepared today to deal with the other setbacks that are coming, years later, by training a team, hiring new people, changing systems, going into different marketing channels, and he's a very good example of somebody that's out there networking, meeting with other players, asking questions like, hey, what is working for you? What, masterminding, going to events. And I do the same, because that's how I know, hey, where are we at? Are we the only ones with these problems, or is just my case is a unicorn, right? So it's
and that's what we get. Like that's who we're trying to hang out with, right? We're trying to get the honesty, because that's the only way that you can grow. And unfortunately, in our industry, there's a lot more BS than there is real. And again, I'm not knocking, anyone, but that's the way I learn is to know really what's happening. Like, we made a big decision to go heavy into flipping at the start of the year, and it was a bad decision because my wholesaling goes down. I'm in these flips. We're in 3 right now. We're trying to sell them, right? We're making money. But what I didn't realize is I've derailed the whole team. All right. But I'm in it now. I'm deep in, and we got to get through it before I can get back on track. It is what it is. I didn't see it because I'm like, of course we can do it. Of course we can. And I'm going full balls to the wall. All right. And again, we're making money, but then I look back and go, oh, why have we done this? We could have made more money with less hassle doing what we know. And I was chasing. I looked at a few deals at the start of the year and thought, I've lost out on a 260 grand. If we just did these flips ourselves, we could make 260 grand more. That's a no-brainer. Let's do it. And then go, hold on a minute. Now I've derailed everybody in the whole team. Now we can't keep up with what we were already doing. So we lost, right? But you just have to work through that. And now I know it was another learning curve. It's another thing that we won't do again. And we'll have a better system in place to handle next time we do it to make sure we withstand both sides.
Well, and I did the
get
same
that.
thing. I did the same thing when I transitioned from flipping to wholesaling. I made a deal with my dispositions guy that he wouldn't get paid if we flipped it, so he had to basically meet or beat our expectations. A certain percentage of our expectations for what we were going to make as a flip if he was going to wholesale it. And he got so good at beating that number that it started to derail my flipping operation. We started, basically cannibalizing our inventory. And when you run an operation at the size that I had ran it for a number of years, and you start cannibalizing your inventory, your crews don't have work. Your private money people don't have money to lend to. A whole infrastructure starts to break down, and you have to be cognizant of that when you make these changes in your organization and make sure that the right changes. Going to mostly wholesaling for us was ultimately the way I wanted to go, because I want to do other things in my business, but I don't ever want to stop flipping, and I want to make sure that my infrastructure stays intact. So you got to find that balance.
And it is, and the difference in between wholesaling and flipping, guys, is the amount of liability you're taking on.
Right.
That's all it is, right? So I have this question asked all the time by our buyers, some of our buyers. Ricardo, how come you're not keeping this one? Or how come you're not flipping this one? And I said, it's very simple. I know how to get these properties. I got more of these properties that I can handle. You don't. So you need to be the one buying the property, not me. I can handle the volume. And if I go and buy this property and start getting into the flipping or Airbnbs or all these other things, then my wholesaling business takes a toll. And I cannot afford to take a toll on the wholesaling business, because that's the lifeblood of not only me, but a lot of other people that are around us, right? So I keep my eyes on the price. I'm like, look, I'm laser focused. Hey, I know this is a great deal. If I buy it and fix it, I can make $100,000 or whatever. You know what? Gavin needs more than this deal than I do. Let me quarterback it to him, and I'll just make a quick 10, 20K or whatever. So, because the temptation is there when you're lead generating and you're getting all these contracts, you're like, oh man, this is a slam dunk. I should just buy it and take it. And then 3-6 months later, you find yourself in the position you are right now, where you're like, man, my wholesaling business is not cranking out the numbers that I want. I'm all distracted with contractors that are not showing up on time, and they're doing shitty jobs, because it happens. My wife is doing it right now. She's having a tough time with a property she flipped. And I asked her, I said, hey, look, I told you, and I didn't want to be a part of it. I said, look, I didn't want to be a part of it because it takes my focus from my wholesaling business into a flipping business that I no longer want to be a part of.
Yeah, no, that you're 100% right. And I believe that we could do it. And I'm not the one dealing with the contractors, but my team is, right? My partners are. And then when you're only as good as your team in the flipping business, right? So if your contractors suck and they're doing a shitty job, and then you put in more money in, you can see the knock-on effect. And then you go, well, as you just said, we're in it. We have money in this, right? We've got to get this one. We can't just leave it like wholesaling. You're controlling without owning. Now we own this thing. We got to, we have private money on it. We got to get through this. We can't just go, let's just move on to the next deal. That doesn't work. So, it's a big learning curve, and we thought we could do it, and we didn't have the right team. And you're only as good as your team, when you expand, in my opinion. And when your team's not good enough, not big enough to handle these things, it hurts. But we're nearly there. We're probably another 30 days and we'll be out and done with all of them, and we'll be back on track and going. So there's light at the end of the tunnel, but this is part of business. I say that we learn. I don't see it as a negative. I see it as a learning curve, right? Learned a lot. And we've made money in the process, right? Could we have made more doing other things? Yeah, but we haven't lost. I'm not sitting here going, we lost in every flip. We're making money. So it could be worse.
Hey, sometimes you lose, and you have to learn how to live with that.
Absolutely.
That's a call you have to make. Like, man, do I really want to keep hanging to this deal, or do I just want to get out of it, get rid of it from my books and move on, because I don't want to lose, and then that thing is holding you back from going and accomplishing bigger things. That was one of my biggest struggles in between 2017 and 2019. When I got hit up with Harvey, I was holding on to all these properties. I wanted to pay all my lenders. Like I was literally swimming, against the currents. And but it was my pride and my ego that kept me swimming like that until one day I said, man, the hell with this. I gotta let it go. I'm gonna, if they want to foreclose on it, let them do it. If I gotta give them the properties back, I will do that. But now that I went through all of that, I was like, man, why didn't I do that sooner? Because I was just holding back not to be a loser. That was the thing. And sometimes by losing, or most of the times by losing, you actually end up winning. So for those of you that are out there that may be in a position to where some properties are hanging around your neck, and cut your losses and move on, man. You know, all entrepreneurs have losses at some point. So it's not, there's nothing wrong with losing as long as you learn from that experience and you come back and come back stronger.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what's unique about us all and our guests on here is we're all running different businesses, right? Like with Don and what he's doing and what I'm doing, and then Dodge, right? David's trying to get 150 properties. You've already been there, and you're probably like us, like absolutely the worst thing ever. But whatever he sees, exactly. But whatever he does and wants to do, it's just like it couldn't be further apart. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just not for me, and it's not for you. You've lived, in that where it's gone wrong. So that's really good. Well, just real quick, guys, everyone that's watching, give us a like, subscribe, okay, and share the post. We appreciate it. Put your questions in. Some of you have already done so. We're going to start hitting them here. If you have questions for any of us, or especially Ricardo, for joining us, put them in. We're going to go and start shooting through them. Here, let's see. Will's basically saying that he doesn't know everyone. He's trying to tune in as much as possible. These people, guys, that were, and Will, you asked the question that we're bringing on. If you already know me, these are good people doing a lot of business. Don's in California, one of the hosts. David Dodge is not with us, is in St. Louis. And then Ricardo's all over the map, again, doing a lot of business that we're going to be diving into here. So appreciate it. You're definitely in the right space, okay? Also, Will was saying down here that he likes the transparency, okay, of us being honest, and I think that's all we can do. We try and get that out of every guest, and obviously ourselves as we're talking. Don's rebuilding. I've just told you my story. Ricardo's told you, and that we're not giving you them things to bring the show down and be negative. It's just reality, and that's what we need to be doing. So, really, really good. Let's see. Matt said here, the book was just a notebook, Matt. It's not a book to read. It's just a notebook with a light bulb on, because obviously thinking that was the point of that one. Scotty's here. Scotty's actually been working with us on one of the flips, Scotty, so I appreciate you. Your hard work over the last few days helping us get this last one on the market. So we appreciate that. So guys, if you've got more questions, put them in. Let's see here. Matt's got another one. So this is a hot market. And when it's over, wholesaling becomes hard. What strategy will you shift to? So basically, you, Ricardo, you answer this one. What do you think?
Wholesaling will never be over, brother. Wholesaling is pretty much the one strategy that will always be bulletproof, regardless of what happens in the market. Let me tell you why. On an up market, everybody looks like a genius. I picked up this deal. I flipped it. I made $100,000. So the profits are larger because the market is helping you, capitalize on those profits, right? On a down market, that's when the weak gets weed out, right? They don't see these big profits anymore. The guys that are very resourceful learn how to market at a lower cost, number two. But number three, your assignments that used to be 40, 50 grand, now they turn out to be 3,000 to 5,000. So you're handling volume as opposed to, quality deals, right? How many people are you going to have on a distressed market? Like go back to 2008, everybody was getting foreclosed on. People were dumping properties. Guess what? There were assignments being made on those deals. It's just that those assignments were not as big as today. It was more like a $2,000 to $3,000 deal. I mean, you can find pretty much anybody with a distressed property by word of mouth. You didn't have to do a lot of marketing to find, people that were behind on mortgages and things of that nature. Will that happen at that level again? I doubt it. I don't think so. I think the banks are smarter now, and they're not going to go through the same thing we went back in 2008. But definitely the market will shift, and I don't think wholesaling will be harder. I think it's harder today, honestly, because today we're in a genius market, so everybody can be a genius. Is those guys that are like Don, myself, we've been around for a while now. We know that all the posers will get away from it, and all of us that know how to adjust to those different market conditions will continue to thrive. Now, try to fix and flip on a down market. See how that's going to work, right? Yep. Now, your buyer will shift. It will go from a fix and flipper and a hedge fund buying a 90 cents on the dollar to the landlord that's doing creative financing. That's who your buyer is going to be the next time around. So you have to learn how to identify those. Today, anybody can make millions selling to hedge funds, that are buying stupid numbers. I don't even understand what the play is there, but that's the reality that we live in today. So I firmly believe that today is harder to wholesale than those days that are coming in the near future, maybe 2 to 3 years from now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the beauty is as well, we're controlling property without owning it. So you just have to get it deeper, right? When the market's down, you just have to get it lower and you still make the spread. You need to keep up with who's actually buying and who's paying top prices to create them spreads. And I think that's why I agree with you, is that wholesaling just becomes harder to find or easier to find, but it will never go away because you're only doing you're only selling for what the buyers will pay and what their market allows you to do. And I'm with you. I mean, the market for fix and flip is definitely slowing. Our earlier flips this year, we were just getting over asking, just getting bigger spreads. It was easy. Now it's softening. Now your budget is more like needs to be on point because you're not getting them. You've got to now price it right, and you're not getting the 20, 30, 40K over askings, right? Where you're creating them things. So we definitely see a softening in the market. Things are sitting a little longer, and we're not having them massive, especially in my markets. We're not seeing them, bidding kind of high and over, if that makes sense. Don, are you muted? Yeah. We lost you, mate.
I muted myself because somebody was laughing in the background. So what else you're going to see is a lot of highlight reels go dark right now as well, because there's a lot of people that were selling properties $20,000 or $30,000 over asking. So they were buying $10,000 or $20,000 higher than they probably should have because they thought it was going to end. And I guarantee you there are a few people about ready to get spanked if they're not already getting spanked as well. Running a business like a business is so important. If you're in my circle or any circle of the people that I hang out with, you're going to find that all of us are the same way. We bet on today. We don't bet on tomorrow. We're not speculators. We're business people. We're running real businesses, and we're here to be here for the long term. And that does not mean going to Vegas, putting it all on black. And if you know anybody in your circle that was doing that and paying more than they should have for a property because the property values are getting higher than expected, watch what's going to happen over the next few months. They're going to have some painful lessons for sure.
100%. I mean, you've just nailed it, right? You make money when you buy, not when you sell.
Right.
And it's all about the buy price for sure. So we have another question here from Will. So I think what he's trying to say here is basically going into closing. Like, how do we actually close these properties? So who wants to take it? You want to take it, Ricardo?
Yeah. So you can do it multiple ways, but if you're wholesaling, number one, you want the title company. You want to work with an investor wholesaler friendly title company that understands what you're doing. Okay. Number one. Number two, you want them to handle the transaction the most they can. Like I make them set up the times for closings, coordinate with the buyer and coordinate with the seller. In reality, I'm using them as my assistants, and that's really what they are. They're helping you facilitate the closing, right? And I avoid putting the buyer and the seller together 100%. Sometimes I actually try to do at least one remote notary out of the two transactions. That way they don't see each other. They don't talk about how much the property is, how much the assignment was, any of those things, because closings can fall apart at the closing table. So you want to make sure your buyer closes on their own, your seller closes on their own. Can sometimes happen all at once, yes, but I suggest you don't do that. You only do that with experienced, repeated buyers that you know are legit. They're not going to try to go behind your back and cut a side deal with the seller, or the seller is not going to try to do the same. There's a lot of snakes in this business, and sometimes are actually the seller and the buyer. So, just try to keep them separate as much as you can.
Ricardo, do you do a sign in? Do you assign the deal? Do you double close with a back to back, or do you actually bring funds in to close on the seller?
I would say 98% assignments. Okay. So we assign the deal, we assign the contract. Now, the way we write our contracts, our buyers don't know what we're making unless they're using a Harmony lender, and the Harmony lender requires to see what the funds are, like how much the assignment is. And they want to see the full original contract, because in reality, when you're wholesaling, you're not wholesaling a house, you're wholesaling a contract that's attached to a property. Whether it's commercial or single family. So when we have big spreads, like let's say 40,000 and up, and we don't know the buyer, we don't know that the buyers it's trustworthy, then we try to double close. We have a company here locally in Houston that will double close anywhere in Texas with the buyer's funds. So they'll just charge twice the title insurance. But in other states, we just got to use transactional funding to save the deal, just to make sure that they don't see that assignment. But man, 98% of our deals are assigned.
Awesome. No, that's good. Don, you're muted again, bud. I feel like I'm Don's personal assistant.
Okay, yeah. Wow, I didn't realize I did that again. Geez. So we pretty much assign everything at this point that we're wholesaling, even if it's a big number. The title company we work with here in California requires us to disclose what we're making in our assignment contract for them to approve it, and that's just the way it is. We've dealt with various title companies that have had us do it various ways. Some of them in California have even stopped doing assignments, and so we found the workaround with the title company we have, where we just disclose it to the end buyer, and it is what it is. Our assignment contract has some fairly significant teeth in them, so once they sign that, if they try to go around or cancel, there's going to be a problem. I don't worry about the small things too much. For me, it's like it's going to flesh you out. If you try to go around me on a deal, then I'm going to know who you are, and you're never going to get anything. You're going on the dead to me list, and that's just that. And I'd rather know that ahead of time anyway.
Yeah, really good, really good. Let's see. Remember, guys, put your questions in. Larry's saying here again, love the transparency, invaluable and so much appreciated. To Ricardo, appreciate that. Matt gave us a thumbs up. Well said. Okay, makes perfect sense. Scotty's got a question here. So I think he's saying he's wholesaled sub 2 deals 2 times already in the past. I feel that that's going to be a whole nother wholesaling fire in the coming future. Your thoughts?
When he says fire, what does he mean by fire? Like good or bad?
I would say bad is what he's saying. So Sky, let us know, is that a bad? I would say that he's meaning that we're going to have problems with it. That's what he's saying. So he's saying he's wholesaling sub 2s, and we're going to see that being a problem.
Well,
it is a problem, man. Like, I don't wholesale sub 2s at all. I've done it, okay, but I don't do it anymore because I've had legitimate buyers that took on properties, and when they start going through tough times, the first thing they quit paying is that mortgage that's not on their name. And it kind of like puts us as wholesalers on a bad spot because we don't control the property anymore. We can't really put a gun to their head so they can make the payments. And now the seller is being affected by a third party. They don't even know who it is. So the way we fix that is that if we are going to sell a property we have under contract that's a subject to, we wrap it to the end buyer. So we do a wrap, and we say, look, man, we would love to assign this deal to you, but I have to keep control on the transaction moving forward, because if you default, God knows, if you go through tough times or whatever, I want to take this property back so I can, so I don't, default on the seller, and I can sell this to somebody else. And you don't have to wrap it and make a crazy amount of money on the note or the cash flow. Just add a little point up, a little percentage to where you're making 20, 30 bucks on the deal every month. But that allows you to keep control. To me, that's the right way to do a subject to transaction if you're going to sell it to another buyer.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, for me, when I've done it with sub 2, wholesaling sub 2, I've never taken my own sub 2, but I also am not in it. So what I do is I bring in, and this is just basically through relationships. So let's just say Don was doing sub 2, right? I'd bring Don in and go, look, Don, there's a sub 2 here. Do you want it? Just pay me, out of escrow. And I just link them two up and then get paid. So I have zero control over anything. And then he will build the rapport with the seller and do all that. I'm just literally giving the lead, and he's going to give me a kickback. And I'm only doing that because I have a good relationship and a good network. That's how I would personally do it, rather than me doing everything and then trying to sign it off for the reasons that Ricardo was saying. Go on, Don. Sorry.
No, everybody's Superman until they get bent over a barrel and told to squeal like a pig by the wrong guy, right? I mean, so, and the market can be the wrong guy. And I may get some hate for this if it gets out there, but the reality is that anybody out there that's wholesaling sub 2 and telling you that's the greatest thing since sliced bread has never been sued. And you can get sued just because your hair is the wrong color, and it's going to cost you $20,000 to get to the settlement table, even when you're friggin' right. So ask me how I know. So I've been in this game for 18 years and I've done every strategy out there. I bought sub 2 for 5 years. I know sub 2 backwards and forwards, and I can say it's a fool's errand to wholesale sub 2 the wrong way. And the wrong way is you go in there and you negotiate with the seller and you put your word that you're going to make sure this thing happens. You're going to take care of their credit and everything's going to be great. And then you go wholesale it to somebody, and then something goes wrong in their life and they stop making that payment. That seller's credit's affected. They're not suing the other person only. They're suing that person, and they're suing you because you were the initial one to put them in contract. That attorney is going after everybody. They're going to find the money wherever it's at, and you're going to get bent over a barrel. And that's the practical reality. And you may be able to do 100 of these and have nothing go wrong, but the one that does will wipe out everything you made. Ask me how I know. I have done this. I have been sued over it. I have done multiple strategies with leveraging this and leveraging that, and I've seen it all go wrong when the market crashes. Everybody's a winner in a good market. Everybody's a genius in a good market. If you're going to do sub 2, you're going to tell a seller you're going to do something, to be the mother effer that's going to do it and honor your word, or get out of the way, like Gavin said, and hand the lead off to the person who's going to negotiate it. As long as your word isn't there, then you're a little better off, right? Have somebody else negotiate it, put their word on it, and have them follow through. And if they don't, it's on them. But if you're standing there and you're at the kitchen table with the seller and you're saying, I'm going to make sure that your credit's good and I'm going to make this payment, and you go give it to somebody else, then you're just asking for trouble. It's Russian roulette. Put the bullet in the gun and start spinning.
100%. And that's exactly why I just said step away. I'm not got any paper trail to it. And everyone knows the reason why. And I'm upfront and honest about that. I get some money up front and then I pass them on, or you keep them yourself. I just don't even think it should be done. I'm going to let something out here because I usually don't do this. I'm usually very PC when it comes to this kind of stuff, but I'm so sick of the trolls on some of these Facebook sites that when somebody says this is the wrong way to do something, they basically call them an idiot. And I'm hoping to God somebody watches this and calls me an idiot and gets my wrath for this. But I have been in this for so long, and I have lost everything once because I did some of this stupid stuff. I've been in several lawsuits. I've had multiple judgments against me because I have done this stupid stuff. When you put your name on something, you tell somebody you're going to do it. Do it. Don't pawn it off on somebody else. You're asking for trouble. And I hate so many gurus out there telling newbies this is the hottest thing since sliced bread, and this is how you need to do it. All you're doing is setting a bunch of people that don't know anything, that don't know better, up for failure. And it's the wrong thing to do. If you're going to man up and say you're going to do something, be the one that does it. Don't pawn it off to somebody else. No.
By the way, sub 2 has been over for ages.
Sub 2 what?
Sub 2 has been around for ages.
Oh, yeah. I was doing it 20 years ago. I mean, that's how I built my business. Yeah. I spent 5 years. Everything I did was sub 2. But when I said I was going to be the one that made the payment, I made the payment. You know, that's all I'm saying. I think it's a fantastic strategy for building wealth. I think sub 2. I just picked up a property a few months ago. We talked about this on one of the shows, sub 2, where I'm keeping it as a rental. I think sub 2 is a fantastic strategy. That I'm not even knocking sub 2. All I'm saying is if you tell somebody you're going to do something, do it. Make sure it gets done. If you hand it off to somebody else and you lose control, you are going to get sued at some point. And that's the problem I have, is that most of you out there don't know that you are going to get sued at some point, and you're not ready for it, and it could wipe you out. And that's the last thing I want. I want you in this business forever.
Yeah, 100%. Really, really good. Carlos saying here, you learn from your mistakes. 100 from our mistakes. That's exactly right. When people come into the coaching program, even mine, I'm sure it's the same for you guys, is that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to shorten the learning curve, right? Do what we actually do in our business. And I'm the first to tell people I don't do sub twos, but I have someone, on my team that's done them. But again, we don't teach to wholesale them. If you're going to do them, you're going to stay in them. And again, you're going to do the right things, because you're playing with other people's lives, families, right? You can ruin a lot of things, the credit. I mean, just so many things. And this is a big deal, and you need to perform, right? And are you going to step up and do the right thing? And I know you did, Don. I know I have business partners that did. When they did it wrong, they made sure they paid everyone back. They didn't just start for closing and just giving them back and all these things and screwing everyone. They made sure that they stayed to their word. So really, really, really good. Carlos, you got another question here as well. Could an LLC protect you, or what other ways could you get protected?
No. So first of all, we're not attorneys. We're not accountants. And if we're giving you legal advice, you might as well assume we're drunk, which we are 90% of the time anyway. Right, Gavin?
Yeah.
So just take everything we say from this point on as we're idiots. We don't know what we're talking about. But I will tell you that if you have an LLC, it does not protect you if you do it wrong. And one of the ways that people do it wrong is when they sign the contract, they don't sign, Joe Schmo on behalf of ABC LLC. They just sign Joe Schmo. Right. And so that's one way where you open up liability. Chances are an attorney is going to sue the LLC and sue you. I'm not trying to freak people out, but that's usually the attorneys are going to go after everybody, throw it against the wall and see what sticks. But if you're doing things like when you're appropriately signing your contracts, Joe Schmo on behalf of ABC LLC, then that removes it throws up an obstacle, throws up a wall from them being able to hold you, pull you into a lawsuit. So you need to find a competent attorney. I know Bob Bloom is fairly popular in our industry. I'm just throwing the name out there. I don't know if we have contact information for him or not, but he's a fairly reputable attorney that will tell you about how to protect yourself in the coaching side of things. If you're a coach, that's one of the reasons we pay attention to them, a lot of things, and also in the real estate side of things, and how to properly set up your corporations, your entities, and sign your contracts so that you aren't held liable. But the reality is, if you contract with somebody and you don't do what you're supposed to do, you or your entity or both are going to get sued, because you're committing for all essential purposes fraud. You're saying you're going to do something and you're not. So you're either fraudulently inducing somebody to do something, or you're simply breaching the contract, best case scenario. And that's the whole point I'm trying to get at, is if you're going to run a business, like, I don't want this to be scary coffee with closures day, but I'm on my soapbox. But if you're running a business, it's a business. You got to run it right, So I'm killing the mood.
No, but it's good. This is the thing. If people are going to come, we're not here just to blow smoke, right?
Right.
Yes, we're here to motivate and give you good things, good stories, right? Which we try and sprinkle in. We give you some wins, but at the end of the day, we want you to get results, right? We want you to do it the right way. And as Don said, we're not attorneys, right? We can't give legal advice. We can give an opinion, and you need to go and see, but Don's right. They're going to sue everybody.
I want everybody who pays attention to anything we have to say, Ricardo, Gavin, myself, Dave, anything that I do with anybody, I want you all to win. I want you all to be here 20 years from now. I want you all to be in the Inner Circle Elite, hanging out with me and my mastermind community, with all of us here, and whatever it is we're doing, drinking Mai Tais on the beach or margaritas or whatever you like, and telling stories about some of the losses and all of the wins. I don't want you to have your ass handed to you in a lawsuit because you listened to the wrong person and you lose everything and you think real estate sucks. That's the whole point here. We want you to win.
Yep. 100%. Carl says here, always disclose everything and stick to your word. Yep, absolutely. So we've got some more questions. I know we're coming up to the hour here. Ricardo, have you got 5 more minutes over?
I got to bounce right at 10, but yeah.
Okay, I just want to hit a couple more questions, and then I want to talk about this event real quick and how people can get down and see all of you guys as well. So let's just knock a couple of these. Are you doing any novation agreements, Ricardo? I'm not.
We're starting to, thanks to Corey. So he's showing us how to do it, and we're still kind of like in the infancy stage where he's holding our hands. So I couldn't answer any Novation questions because
Yeah.
Corey is the guy that I kind of refer back to.
Yeah, so Corey Geary is the guy that's mainly doing that. And again, that's honesty. Ricardo could have just given it the big one then and gone on a full BS routine of telling you, how it's done. Now, we all know, we all have an opinion on how we think it's done. But again, we're not here killing it, doing 5 a month to be sitting here educating you guys on it. So, yeah, really, really good.
But hey, but he's got a question. Like, so Peyton says, just completed my first Novation agreement, thinking this is a great way into flipping properties with a lot less money. What are your thoughts on Novation? So what Novations are gonna do, from my experience, is that it's going to open up a world for people that want nearly retail for their properties, but these properties are in good price, like they're in good shape. I meant. So on a Novation, you're going to have to probably pass an FHA or a VHA veterans loan, qualification type deal. So, it's going to open up the room for a lot more properties, but the Novation pitch has to be, on point. So you have to know how to present an Novation offer basically to a seller, but it does open up a room for a lot more deals. That's why we're doing it now.
Absolutely. So a quick high level, if I understand it, wholesaling is obviously where we just get a contract, we assign that piece of paper, and we make money. Novation is basically where you're kind of JVing with the seller, right? And you're kind of splitting the profits. Is that?
Not necessarily. You still have a price that you're agreeing to give the seller, but then you have the rights to list the property and ask for whatever you want. And there is certain paperwork that you have to follow in order to make that happen. And when the inspections come up, then what I know some of my friends are doing is that they're actually taking up on the repairs themselves. So let's say they gotta fix a toilet, they're doing that. And they might work it in conjunction with the seller, but at the end of the day, it's like a very light mini fix-up list that they do in order for the property to pass inspection. So it's just a whole different animal that, I've heard about it a couple of years ago, but I didn't understand it until I sat down with Corey one day and he showed me how he's making all this money now. That's his number one main strategy. So if you want to reach out to him directly, and let him know, hey, Ricardo sent me your way.
Well, let's get Corey. Let's get Corey on the show. Is what we'll do.
Yeah.
I can make that happen. No problems, brother.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, look, guys, we are at the hour. Peyton just has asked a question directly to you, Don. Just have a quick look at that when you can. But anyway, we are at the hour. But I just really, Ricardo, want to ask. You've got this event in Miami, Florida next week, and again, you have some of the best speaking. I'm not there, but I didn't make the squad. No, I'm joking. But you do have Don's going to be there, Dave's going to be there. I mean, you have the whole lineup again. Nick Perry, Corey, you. There's endless of you that are going to be speaking, sharing a lot of knowledge. It's going to be fantastic, not only from a knowledge but for networking. So I do recommend that you getting down there. So how do they do this? How do they get there? If there's any tickets left, what do they do? Where do they go?
re3mastermind.com. It's very simple. re3mastermind.com. We have different tickets. We have different levels. We got the first day is a mastermind where it's only VIPs, speakers, and sponsors. Okay. And then the event style happens on days 2 and 3, but it still has some sort of a mastermind take on it. So we got
also RE3
number 3.
If I can write it down here.
I'm gonna
and then
like this.
Yep.
Yes, that's it.
re3mastermind.com. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so it's gonna be 3 days of content. All the guys getting on stage are proven 7-figure operators, and they all pay to go on stage, believe it or not, because we're masterminding, and we're actually doing some extracurricular activities with them as well. we're having a yacht party on Sunday, the 24th. We already have 3 yachts, and we have like 40 people going on it. So it's gonna be crazy. A lot of having a great time, but also networking, and it's a great time for people that want to learn and literally drink water from the fire hose to be there, because there's gonna be no fluff. All the guys that are on stage, they're good at what they do. They know their subject. They're legitimate 7-figure entrepreneurs at a minimum. And, even though most of them have coaching programs and things like that, it's not going to be a pitch fest. It's going to be more of, hey, here is what I do. This is how it works. If you want to learn from me, perfect. Come follow me. Let's do it. But it's more of a mastermind than it is an event. And we're opening up the doors for people that are fairly new in the industry, so they can kind of like start catching up to some of these guys that are playing at a higher level.
Love it. Yeah. Awesome. So guys, remember, go to re3mastermind.com. Check it out. It's going to be next week in Miami, Florida. And if you can make it, I would definitely make that investment. This is going to be the fastest way of growth. Remember your network. I called my company REI Network. I say it all the time for a reason, because you have to get in the room with the right people. Don Costa's got to go. Ricardo, appreciate you. Guys, we'll be live next week with Coffee with Closers. Ricardo.